Good afternoon. This is Bela Lanye from University of San Carlos, Cebu City, Philippines. I'm going to present to you my paper, Developmental Stages of Eversley Child Sanitarium, Urban and Architecture Approach. The abstract. Present pandemic social distancing for healthcare calls for special attention. Eversley Child Sanitarium and General Hospital, originally Eversley Child Sanitarium in Metro Cebu, Philippines, been representing for decades a humane healthcare philosophy and built environment. In this study, the researcher inserts ICACE in the typology of leprosy facilities and investigates its transition through time, follows up the social medical backgrounds of each spatial developmental phase. Comparing ICS with the historical leprosy facilities, researcher proves that from its foundation on, ICS has been following community-driven medical principles that realize corresponding architecture urban features. Main finding consists in the resiliency of the sanitarium's original design philosophy, which is in position to give impulse for an incoming heritage conservation and urban rehabilitation. Researcher recommends to update the area to a modern hospital with a cluster of livable new subdivision designs in conformity with ECS original dynamics. Introduction. Here you can see the entrance. Then something about the atmosphere there. We know what reality is if you are a leprosy sick, or we call it today Hansenites. But this settlement has beautiful features as well. It has been a successful leprosy facility, and it demonstrates continuously changing medical strategies which manifest themselves in adequately continuously changing architecture and urban forms. The original buildings are there, but they were altered and reassessed. So it is a strong impulse for ECS incoming urban rehabilitation. Rehabilitation of review of literature, history of leprosy facilities. As we already know, from the oldest times on, leprosy is here with us. The end of 19th century, Hansen discovered the cause of the leprosy bacillus, but he could not offer a medicine. It made the fear stronger and caused so-called segregation laws. On the other hand, the call for the community's healing power also became heard. So here the problem is similar as today, social distancing, but we have still to be together with a community. This facility has a community-driven approach, which I want to present to you. Here are some old leprosy facilities. Carville was the national sanitarium for leprosy in the United States. There are several works describing the problems in leprosy facilities, even in the American leprosy sanitarium. And that's why it's interesting how this facility here in the Philippines contributes to the development of health architecture. It is located in Mandaue City, Cebu province, a nice and healthy place. It was founded during the American colonial time, Leonard Wood Foundation, with Mr. Eversley Childs as donor. Construction began in May 1928 with 52 concrete buildings, waterworks, sewage system, telephone system, equipment, and the like. So this was actually an important facility at that time. You can see here the area. I tried to put up the different zones. The red is the core hospital zone. The blue area is that where there were still facilities from the original time, but it counted as an outer zone. And then after the purple line, there is a second block addition. Old maps about this facility. And this is the area view of the sanitarium. You can also see how big these blocks were. The urban planning of the area is unique because it is adjusted to the local topography. In the middle, there are two squares. One is shaped by the Catholic Church, female infirmary, the other the playground field, and there is a third similar square. The other areas are actually already in the hilly places. Then there are 5 streets. The female cottages and male cottages are separated. As you can see, the left side is the male, the right side the female, and the middle is the church. You can also see some facilities. This exists up to today. ECS represents a paradigm change. It's a departure from the system of compulsory segregation, but it is still segregation because of the strict laws of that. ECS area witnesses a story of mission-oriented philosophy that, despite legal and habitual calls for separation and social distancing, wanted to see healing as an achievement in community. My research methodology is a case study research in various contexts. The key principles of historical community-driven leprosy settlements. I wanted to show you these principles and then see how these principles were applied to our facility. Spatial principles are connected with healing objectives. This we can say in several Catholic and Protestant leprosy facilities all over the Southeast Asia. Usually there is a chapel, convent, or religious facility for spirituality, counseling, morality, scenic environment, the emotional relief, for example, Chamba leprosarium in India, cottages instead of wards. It doesn't look like a traditional hospital or a prison, but there are cottages in a kind of a village life. This is an Indian sanitarium. Verandas, fresh air, cooking space, people can go there, you can even sleep there, talk there, fresh air is there. House rows. So this is in those facilities before this, the predecessors, they separate male and female cottages. As you can see in this, again, Indian facility. Married women and men. Workspaces, there are for productive labor because the leprosy sick people are not terminally sick. They can still work. Common facilities, self-support, self-governance, school building, for teaching learning, and various healthcare buildings for holistic care, not only for leprosy. The original approach of ECS was community driven. That's what I want to prove. A major principles of community driven approach were applied here, and even in a stronger and clearer case as other facilities of the United States dominated places. First of all, there is a chapel and convent for spirituality, counseling, morality. We call it Sacred Heart Chaplaincy, the Catholic Church. It overlooks the major plaza. It forms a narrow L with 2 naves for social distancing. These naves are really like an L, and the patients can almost not see each other. Then there are also sisters, but they live not close to the church in other place. And here we can see the church. The right side, left side, those buildings, wings also belong to the church, and that's how we can say it is social distancing. That's one of the church wings. Today, it is still a working Catholic church. One of the founder priests, Redemptorist priest, was very active here. Sisters were working here, religious sisters. And since it was American dominated area, Protestant church is also present, the area. Scenic environment, he found a hilly area close to the sea and a strong spring with potable water. And up to today, it's a beautiful area. As you can see, many nice trees, scenic environments, cottages instead of wards. There are 22 male cottages and 11 female cottages, and they are in pavilion system of healthcare architecture. Patients were empowered by the trust of a smaller community and less institutional control. 20 patients were in a one-room house, no compartment, 5 beds were placed on each side, each with a bedside table. Patients cooked, and up to today, 4 cottages still exist for people who have leprosy sickness and stay inside, but most of the patients can go home because of the good medical achievements already. Then I want to show you some cottages here. And this is the area where leprosy sick Hanseatic patients are still living up to today. They are already old, they cannot go home because some body parts are missing and they would shame. Veranda, they all have veranda, and veranda plays an important role. Building rows, as you can see here, left side male, right side female, workspaces, common facilities. There was self-government, that time more than 1,000 patients, playground, community activities. They had their own police, they had own town. The life was not boring. There were regularly events like stage. There was town hall. There was a water system. There was a school and holistic care. For example, ward for tuberculosis patients. Further developmental stages. Updating the sanitary 1930 to 1964. They had better medicines in the early 1950s, but it was not yet totally efficient, so we had to prepare new buildings and for bigger number of patients. And the research facility, because people came from all over the world to study this sickness here. 1964 was a change because it was the lifting of separation law, which showed that no persons afflicted with leprosy shall be confined in a leprosarium. So the end of the traditional leprosaria. Patients could already act as assistants in the provision of special tasks. So we can see how it was better and better already treated. Daycare centers, they came during the day, and people could already come in. So this huge area, there were villages, barrios, only for patients and their close relatives. So this is the next developmental stage. It became already a kind of urban design. You can see how it is today, those villages. Changed to regular hospital. Finally, very efficient and quick treatment arose with the multiple drug therapy. Today, it is already very well treatable, and that's why they made it made possible to rationalize admission. So there is not anymore such a big need for treatment space, but this is a hospital, so it could take over roles of a general hospital. New buildings were created, and right now a really huge high-rise building is going to be built because it will be more a general hospital than just a leprosy facility. But during this time, we can see the old buildings became deteriorated. That's why they created a Worsley Museum in a former evaluation clinic to recall the history of this place. And then after 2000, outside settlers moved in because that was really the original function was not anymore so urgently needed. But it was a problem of discipline. There was no more patient police, so the administration decided to fence the hospital area and the custody care area. Custody care area where leprosy Hazenite patients are there up to today. Then land title claims came because some people bought lots from former owners using the fact that the turnover of lots was not carefully done that time. So the patients and the inhabitants organized themselves in associations. You can also see it. Finding conclusion, so the original design sensitively mirrors the professional philosophy behind it. And in leprosy, Hanseanite sickness, we can see how it changed the treatment, how it got a better and better architecture expression. Thank you very much for your attention.